modern, re-engineered electric classic cars are actually quite common these days. They're getting to be quite a popular thing. And this one surely makes more sense than most. So take the original classic Issigonis Mini, stick a battery in it, an electric motor, and also some modern touches, so nav, heated seats, smartphone integration, and surely you've got the best city car in the world, haven't you?
Well, at £79,000, that might be stretching the truth a bit. But let's put price aside for a moment, because otherwise the Swind E Classic seems like a no-brainer. Take the undeniably brilliant original Mini, the serene yet gutsy delivery of an electric powertrain, a range of 125 miles from the 24 kilowatt-hour battery pack, comforts including heated leather seats and USB charging, and finish it all to a standard that probably surpasses that of the Mini when it originally rolled out of the factory.
So here we are with Raf K.A., MD of Swind. So Raf, thank you very much for having us today and for letting us have a look around your very cool car. So what I am puzzled by is that you guys do, you do highly tuned race engines and you've done a mad 60 mile an hour electric mountain bike. So why now a classic electric Mini?
Good question. Our background is internal combustion engines. And so looking at the future of our company, we have two choices. Either put our head in the sound and pretend that engines will be good forever, or embrace electrification and try and do some business with electrification. We decided to embrace electrification. And first of all, we needed to develop our know-how, which we've done with the electric bicycle. Having done that, we felt we were ready to do a car, and the candidate to electrification, we found the ideal candidate is a Mini.
How hard is it then to build this car? Because I mean, it's a complete restoration of an original Mini as well as obviously the conversion to electric. So how long does that take?
So the whole process takes 6 months. As you said, it's first of all restoring a classic Mini, which in itself is a big piece of work. And then adapting, integrating all our electric powertrain, a motor, a transmission, and a lithium-ion battery. It's all designed to fit within the original packaging of the classic Mini, and we've tried along the way to actually improve the packaging of the classic Mini.
And how flexible is this system then? So I mean, if I come up to you and say I want mine in a Cooper-esque body, you know, all that stuff, I want more power, can you do that? Can you put it in a completely different classic car, or?
So what we've done is developed a basic specification, which that is, and as a base specification, that's what we're selling. But we have also what we call bespoke programs. The sky is the limit. Anything can be done. We are an engineering company, we develop things. So if anyone wants indeed a Cooper version, or we've had requests for convertible, Countryman, anything is doable.
Awesome. Well, thank you ever so much. And I think we're going to go and have a go in it now.
All right.
The Swind E Classic. Don't call it a Mini, whatever you do, or you're going to get somebody from BMW ringing you up very angrily and threatening lawyers and stuff, I think, probably. But regardless, we all know what it is. It's pretty unmistakable, and obviously what makes this such a great car is the original Mini, because it is such an iconic, such a classic, such a brilliant car. And of course, as we all know, the roads are getting more and more crowded. In cities, it's getting harder and harder to get about, so what you need is a tiny car. And this has got to be the best tiny car ever, right? And putting an electric powertrain in it makes a lot of sense. Now, as I've mentioned, this company actually has its background in really high-performance racing engineering, but this car they've designed specifically to be applicable to driving around town. And you still get a bit of a kick of torque, actually, when you do floor it, but it's a very progressive power delivery. And that actually really suits it. It makes it really easy to drive smoothly. What doesn't make it so easy to drive smoothly is that the brake regen on it, it does feel a bit grabby at the moment, so you come off the throttle and it's very difficult to do that progressively. That is something that's being ironed out in this prototype car. So if you do choose to spend like 80 grand on one of these, then you won't have that problem. And I suspect your car might be a bit quieter as well, because this prototype actually, the amount of noise coming from that electric motor and all that kind of thing, it really gives this car character. That's the ironic thing is, although, you know, electric cars are generally sort of typified by being very quiet, this one is really quite noisy. And I like that about it. It gives it a sort of grittiness, a kind of real, genuine classic feel that actually, I think kind of adds to it. The reality is that, you know, if you want one of these, you're going to have a quieter car than this. Honestly, this thing is absolutely fantastic. We're out on country roads right now, but even on these roads, this car feels so tiny. It's absolutely brilliant how small it feels. You know, it feels like it's kind of wrapped around you or something. It's compared to a modern car, it's just amazing how tiny it feels. Not only that, but it just looks spectacular, doesn't it? I just think it looks so cool. Of course, on top of that, this Mini has been completely refurbished. So actually to a very high quality as well, if you look at sort of the leather seats and this kind of thing, and as well as obviously making it more future-proof, having the electric powertrain, Swind are trying to make it a lot more easy to live with. So you get heated seats, you've even got underfloor heating, which is very cool, as standard, USB charging. You can also actually choose to add a navigation system to this car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can really choose to modernise it should you wish. However, I would add that the interior in this car looks spectacular, partly because it's got a very simple dash. There's not much to it. It's got these really lovely sort of retro switches down here. It's got the classic round dial in the middle, with a fuel gauge that will actually show you what the battery life is on the car, how much battery there is left. With a maximum charge, by the way, this thing will do about 120 miles, and it will charge up in around about 4 hours. From a 7 kilowatt charger, that is. On top of that, 0 to 60 in around about 9 seconds, so that's not bad. And it does pick up from low speeds, it's very cool. But one of the other options, surprisingly, is power steering. So this car doesn't have power steering. I don't really miss it, even manoeuvring it around at low speeds. You do notice how heavy the steering is, but because it's such a light car anyway. So actually, adding the electric batteries to this car, the lithium-ion cells bought from Samsung, they add about 70 to 80 kilos to the original car, and given that this weighed, you know, roughly about as much as a crisp packet originally, it's still a very, very light car. And you do feel that. It's another one of the reasons why the original Mini was so great and why this car is so cool too. So all in, yes, it's a little bit rough around the edges for this prototype car, but I think by the time all that's been ironed out, given what a spectacular car the original Mini is anyway, and how good this conversion seems to be, and actually, you know, how nice the finish on it is, and how much easier it would be to live with when it's got, you know, nav and all that stuff in it, I really do see the appeal. It's great.
Having the batteries placed centrally down the spine of the E Classic means that Swind have actually managed to make the boot in the Mini bigger than it used to be. Not only that, but it also means that they've got a lower centre of gravity, which helps with the E Classic's handling.
It's an eccentricity, this car. We all know it. You look at the BMW i3, the Renault Zoe, you know, they're so much more practical and cheaper. So why would you buy this, you wonder? Well, I can see why you would. You've got 1 foot in the past, 1 foot in the future, and actually, to be honest, by the standards of fully restored classic cars and converted to electric power, you could even argue that it's almost good value. It's surprisingly applicable to modern city centres, and it's just great fun. Yes, it's an indulgence, and you're going to have deep pockets and a good sense of humour to buy it. But you know what? I think that only makes me like it more. For loads more electric car advice, reviews, news and features, head to DrivingElectric.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram.